Hello, how are you today? Nervous Nelly here. For some reason, young teenagers can do their videos with no problem. At the beginning of these Dinosaur News broadcasts, we used to be able to have the focus with the camera, everything ready. But for some reason the camera will not focus. And the cat's even crying at me too. I like to get the fly of the Union Jack and the red ensign together there. But it looks like this is going to be... Well, we're sort of set up now. We've got the good queen sort of squeezed out. I was going to restart it, but what the hell, we've got to start it now. Dinosaur News. Here we are. Brought to you today by the British People's League. August 29th, I do believe, 2015. As I say, when we first started the YouTubes, when you click on Start Recording, the focus usually gives you time before the actual recording of your voice to set the stage up. But for some reason, this camera has not been able to do it for some time. Okay, so you got my usual preliminary preview crying out of the way. John Beattie here. Glad to have you with us. Dinosaur News, August 29th. Brought to you by the British People's League. Today's topic, Canadian white groups. Canadian white groups. That's not to leave out our good friends at Candor in Britain. Candor, C-A-N-D-O-U-R. Candor.org.uk. They've survived because they stay neutral in Britain as to all the blog wars between the different white patriotic groups. Well, they call themselves nationalists, whereas the British People's League, we prefer the term patriots. In any case, the blog wars over in Britannia make it really difficult for the different groups to get together and show a united front in the battle to preserve Britain, whether it's by legal underground, as Winston Churchill had predicted. Legal undergrounds necessary to keep Mother Britannia free. It's a hard road to hoe when you can't get the groups together, but personalities, etc., with any political group, it always has come down through history. Now switching back to where these broadcasts come from, Ontario, Canada. Not many in patriotic groups know about the inner workings of the white right, the white defense here in Canada, as there isn't much above ground, so to speak. There are two major groups that I would like to focus on today. Well, basically, I'm going to focus on the Nationalist Party of Canada, led by Don Andrews and Bob Smith. Their web address is very simple and short, natparty.org. N-A-T-P-A-R-T-Y, natparty.org. Those who haven't heard of them, well, maybe you haven't been searching hard enough. The Nationalist Party of Canada have been around for years. They've stayed the course, tough as nails. They've been through hell and high water standing up for our white race. So check them out. They've always been friendly with the British People's League. As I laugh, but our views as to how to save our white race are somewhat different on the issue of, well, all-encompassing white, whereas Beattie boy here, I focus basically on the British blood, British approach. But as those of you who have been steady listeners know, we have always referred to our European cousins. And the bloodline of, I imagine, most of the members of the Nationalist Party of Canada are of proud European descent, living here in Canada, born here in Canada, whatever. So there's two different approaches, but the bottom line is the Nationalist Party of Canada, the British People's League, we're both sticking up for our white race. And it's obvious somebody has to. That's a nervous chuckle I have because I get shocked at the figures. The invasion from the multi-cult third world nations is just growing by the tens of thousands each day. So it's about time that the British People's League would be delinquent in not promoting the Nationalist Party of Canada. Again, we have so many different approaches, maybe that's why I've hesitated. But the bottom line, the Nationalist Party of Canada and Don Andrews' editorials have always, bottom line, come out fighting for our white race. There's just different approaches as to how to do it. But this broadcast today is especially devoted to the Nationalist Party of Canada. I want to thank them for being in the struggle all these decades and never wavering from their goal to fight and save our white race, to fight for and save our white race. Well, we at the British People's League, of course, are the same. Right now on the Facebook page, I put it under John Beattie. So on the right column of the British People's League, you'll see Facebook, the big symbol of Facebook. Just click in. And our ongoing, we put it on and off to keep new people alerted. The purpose of the British People's League. So there's not that much difference in the purpose of the British People's League and the purpose of the Nationalist Party of Canada, except the Nationalist Party of Canada doesn't have the bent on the British aspect, whereas we do, obviously. But we sort of need each other. Not sort of, we do need each other. And I only name our two groups because they're the only two that count. We're not including, well, we're called fringe groups, so I'd like to call certain aspects of the white spokespeople in Canada as being on the fringes. But as far as out there up front, you've got the Nationalist Party of Canada and we of the British People's League. And in Britain, the real strong focal unifying factor is, again, Candor. C-A-N-D-O-U-R, candor.org.uk. Those of you who know about the blog wars in Britain, and they're practically wars, they insult each other, curse each other in the ground, they're diverted. And there's no doubt that there's agent provocateurs working for, who knows, the government, for ethnic tribes that aren't white. It's not that difficult to get into a blog and cause dissension. It's not that difficult by, naming people and slurring accusations and so on. I've done my very, very best to refrain from naming anything going on with white groups in Canada that would tick you off. Privately, with private emails to friends that we network with on the British People's League, we certainly can discuss the failings. Hey, we're all human, but when it gets to just like ridiculous failings, like one so-called spokesperson doing a self-photograph in his jockstrap underwear with his near-naked girlfriend, and you just have to click in the certain part. You just click in images of, and if you know the name of the person, just click in images of, and there you'll see him in the porn underwear. And this guy's held up as respectable. Excuse me. Now, Don Andrews and myself, we may have pretty wild personalities, divergent personalities, but we do try and cooperate. And again, in private emails, that way opposition people can't, throw in their curveballs to try and cause dissension. There really isn't much dissension between us at all, other than, we of the British People's League, we network. We don't ask for members. We don't have members. We network. Whereas the Nationalist Party of Canada, they do ask for membership, and in the white right, you would call it a political lineage for sure. And the flag, as far as the British People's League, the flag behind me here, the red ensign is Canada's flag, whereas the Nationalist Party of Canada, made up of a lot of new white nationalists, they call themselves. They like the Pearson flag that was passed in 1965. It wasn't really passed, by the way. Closure was used in Parliament. Look up closure under the British North America Act and the Canada Act. Closure. What's it sound like? Sure, they closed debate before the Royal Canadian Legion was just stirring up good opposition. And debate was closed by Pearson, and unfortunately, by what were considered good Canadian patriots, the wing of the Social Credit back in those days, the Social Credit Party, were called the Creditistes, under Riel Cowet, whom I knew personally, and Gilbert Rondeau, his right-hand man. He stood up for the good old-fashioned values of church, family, God, and country. Church, family, God, and country. But when it came down to the flag, well, of course, French Canadians weren't that keen on the Union Jack in the good old red ensign behind me here, even though the fleur-de-lis is on the red ensign. It's right there in the second row of the emblems. But they didn't want the Union Jack. So Cowet gave Pearson, without the Creditistes, Pearson's government would have fallen. They were a minority government. So that flag in '65 was only passed by a minority government. But hey, Don Andrews, the Nationalist Party of Canada, Bob Smith, they don't hold that against us. But we don't hold against them on the flag issue. Our main issue is to keep our skin color white, our descendants down the road, those that are worthy, those that are truly worthy. We've got that on the heading of the British People's League editorial right now on the editorial page. Are we truly worthy of our ancestors? They fought and died for territory, for freedom. Yes, a lot of people died over fights for territory. And my Indian pals would be the first to admit, the Iroquois, the Algonquins, the Cree, different tribes, they all fought each other. I mean, tribalism is the history of the world. But there comes a point, as we are now becoming a minority on the planet Earth, the white race, we have to work together. Sort of differences out later. But let's just get rolling here on working together. I guess you get the point, ladies and gentlemen. And I will say, too, that the editorials of the Nationalist Party of Canada are wild and woolly, but factual. Don Andrews knows tribal history from Africa better than any white man that I know of in Canada. He knows the tribal history because he's read and studied a lot. His editorials are spicy. You may not agree with them. Well, you don't agree with the editorials of British People's League. We can't all agree on everything, can we? But we've got our special inner cores who totally agree with our approaches. Oh, you get the picture. You know what I'm trying to say. It's always difficult, amalgamation or working together of groups that have different views. I hate to talk about the establishment in Canada, but, you know, the political parties in Ottawa, they have to work together sometimes, especially when there's a minority government. And that may happen federally in October. There may end up being a minority government where you have to swallow certain things to work together. Well, that's what we white groups, Canadian white groups, have to do. We have to start working together. But as I say, if people have boobed beyond the pale, if they've boobed beyond the pale, even my stupidity as a young person when I was misled by the Canadian Jewish Congress into doing all kinds of stupid things. But Israel Levant, in the right wing, you might as well call him, he has a separate channel now, well-known writer in Canada, Jewish, but he has come on a recent YouTube stating that the fascist group way back in the 60s, they didn't hurt anyone, and that's a fact. I always come back to that Legion pal up here who says, well, John, all that publicity when you ran for Deputy Reeve last year, all that screaming hysteria about your past, but what did you do? And that's the point, folks. They didn't do nothing. Just used like an idiot to get the hate laws through in Canada. But that's 40, 50 years ago. 40, 50 years ago. Let's talk again about now. So I have been long overdue to do a video praising the Nationalist Party of Canada, standing up for white people. They have listed the British People's League in their column list. Mind you, they list everybody. You can't go wrong when you list everybody, but still, that's good of them. I just can't bring myself to listing everyone. I don't have a Bob Smith as a good executive assistant. I pretty well have to do a lot of the paperwork on my own. I've got some great advisors who are miles away from here, great advisors. But, you know, Don Andrews is fortunate to have a good man such as Bob Smith as a right-hand man to assist him with the overall situation with the Nationalist Party of Canada, whereas poor little Beattie boy, I got to do a lot on my own. And it's just, to list all the different groups, I just can't handle it. No, Candor, my apologies to the Nationalist Party of Canada, because I'm not going to start listing every group there is. I just, I have to keep it limited to my scope. I'm a one-focused person and I can't handle overload. So that's the story there. But just because we don't list the Nationalist Party of Canada, but there's British groups I'd love to list too who are fighting hard. But as I say, we stick with Candor because Candor stays neutral with all the different groups fighting, and it gives them an equal forum. At the back of Candor magazine, they have ads from all the different groups where they're not screaming at each other. And it's all tragic, isn't it? At a time when the white race is under threat, the invasion from Africa growing leaps and bounds, the do-gooders all crying the blues want to feed them all. I'll believe that when I see them taking some Africans right into their homes. I don't mean adopting little wee ones. I'm talking taking some of the wild woolly types that are coming across the borders. And the Asians who are also polite, yes, changing the signs in Prince George, British Columbia, changing the signs into Punjabi. Polite, oh yes, they're a bit more dignified, but are they of our Anglo-Celtic heritage? Are they of white European heritage? No, I think not. We conquered these lands once before, and it's about time we did so in a legal fashion again by waking up our peoples, becoming strident, and together reclaim our lands. As Donald Trump is talking about in America. So I pretty well didn't want to get into a lot of extras today because I wanted the focus to be on, well, the two professional white groups that are fighting for our heritage, our white heritage here in Canada. The Nationalist Party of Canada, natparty.com, and of course, we are the British People's League. I can't get over Donald Trump challenging all the other candidates down there in the presidential race to drop footnotes and promptu cards. And I thought, oh, I can do that. I usually shoot from the hip. But no, you know what? I have to have the slogan to get these 20 minutes through. So it's not all that easy. So Trump's got a point. Speak from the hip, and then you're speaking the truth. And then my advisors in Candor, a couple of them have stated, well, John, you should do a lot of preparation, a lot of digging. Well, as far as the digging goes into the Nationalist Party of Canada, you just have to click into the website that I've repeated many times here, and there's a whole tray full of goodies there for you for the white cause. And need I repeat that our editorials certainly do differ in a lot of ways, but so what? The overall factor is we're white people who are sticking our necks out in the front line. I know we can't ask people to stick their necks out who might lose a job due to political correctness, the new horror fashion of political correctness. If it wasn't for pension, senior's pension, well, prior to that, my passed away wife was a registered nurse, so with her working, I could keep up the white man's fight. And they couldn't really squeeze her out that easily, and they were pretty good over the years. They never bothered Hazel when she was the registered nurse. She passed away in 1996. But without her financial support, keeping the family going, I wouldn't have been able to, over the years, stand up for white people. So that's a plus in memorial for her. There are a lot of you out there who have attended get-togethers with white people. Keep on attending. Talk to you next time. Keep it legal. God save the Queen.